After listening to this story, stay tuned for a preview of another episode of American Memories Continued.
As new dreams are born and hopes are lived, so too are American Memories Continued.
American Memories Continued, an original audio series, is brought to you with love and commercial-free by
The Fingerprint Community Global, moved by greater to believe bigger. Advocatus Ecclesiae Publishing, perfecting the distribution of hope.
and by the ongoing monthly support of friends, community members, and sustaining faithful partners like you. Our theme music, Proudly Western, was composed and performed by Jay Mann at www.ourmusicbox.com. We're thankful and humbled that you've chosen to tune in regularly for your favorite episodes of American Memories Continued.
Not just stories told, memories lived.
Today's episode is entitled Leverage and the Three-Way Lug Wrench. Let all of your cares go for just a little while. Listen closely. Prepare your heart to be stolen. You now have a front row seat, and this is family time.
American Memories Continued begins now.
Believe it or not, there are lessons, good lessons, that you can be taught through a few minutes of conversation and demonstration that will not only last a lifetime and beyond, but will possibly save you years of trial and error trying to figure it out on your own. Such was the case when I had a flat tire and began to realize that those who we thought were older people in the neighborhood going out of their way to be nosy were actually community leaders, kind-hearted, and dedicated to helping us young knucklehead know-it-alls to grow up to be clever, respectable community leaders ourselves one day. So there I was, in front of the house, at the curb with my nice used vehicle and my first flat tire, preparing to go through the motions of what I thought should be a quick piece of cake procedure to put on my spare tire. I expected to be up and on the road again in no time. I hadn't had any official tire changing lessons, but how hard could it be? I was about to find out that it wasn't as simple as I'd imagined. It's okay if you're smiling. Looking back, I had to laugh at myself. But in my own defense, remember, none of us were born knowing how to change a flat tire. Thank God the flat was on the curb side of the street. You remember the streets that allowed parking on both sides facing opposite directions? And if you wanted to park in your garage, you had to drive through the alleys because the garages were in the back of the house and not everyone had a driveway? I had already taken out my spare tire and set it to the side. I hooked my jack to the slot in my bumper, which is how we did it back in the day, and began to pump it up. With the car in the air, I removed the tire iron from the jack handle and began to make a fool out of myself by trying to loosen the lug nuts with the one-socket tire iron that came with my car, causing my flat tire to spin, turning round and round. What was I doing wrong? Right then, I heard a voice from across the street. "Hey, young fella, what you doing?" It was Mr. Howard, my father's friend, who had been standing in his front door watching me the whole time. You remember Mr. Howard, I introduced you to him. He and my father had a competitive but friendly relationship. He said, "Looks like you're kind of struggling a little. Do you need help?" I'd rather he hadn't put my business out on the street like that, but I thought that he would never ask. "Yes, sir," I replied. These were still the days of respect, and "yes, sir" and "yes, ma'am" were what we had been raised to say. He came outside. "What kind of tools are you working with?" he asked. At that time, all I had was the jack, which consisted of 3 parts: the foot, which secured the jack to the ground, the tree or post that fit into the foot, and the lift crank that was attached to the tree, which is the part that slides into the slot in the bumper to hoist the car. "If that's all you've got, that's all you need," he said. "But you're going to have to drop that car back down if you want to break those lug nuts loose." Letting the car down put the weight of the car on the tire, which kept the tire from spinning while I tried to loosen the lug nuts. Brilliant, huh? But it also freed up the jack tree, which I had no clue I was going to need before it was all over with. Even though I was young and strong, the lug nuts were too tight for me to loosen with brute strength. My dad came out and told me to put a little oil on the lug nuts and let them sit for a few minutes. Then him and Mr. Howard told me to slide the lug wrench into the hollow center of the jack tree, place the wrench back on the nuts, and use it as torque leverage to break the lug nuts free. It worked like a charm, and they both stood there talking and watching as the rest of the procedure was a piece of cake for me. I was back on the road again, and I never forgot the lesson that I learned that day. Before walking away, Mr. Howard said, "I've got something for you." My guess was that it had something to do with what him and my dad had just been talking about. I followed him to the trunk of his car, and to my surprise, he gave me one of his brand new 3-way lug wrenches. How cool was that? Of course, I said thank you. He smiled, shook my hand, and said, "No problem, young fella. Glad to do it." And then he walked away. I believe that if you're now a community leader or just have a little age under your belt, that there's a good chance that you've had moments like these in the past. The secret is not to forget them and to do all that you can with genuine acts of kindness to grow a block club, a city, a state, and a nation of new leaders whenever and wherever you get the chance. Help to build a nation of people who understand that we all must give back. Exiting the studio, please watch your step. For those who are tuned in, we now return you to your ordinary day. We truly hope that you've enjoyed spending this time with us. Our goal, with your help, is that the American Memories Continued experience grows to become America's new favorite pastime, serving you and your loved ones wherever they are. What did you want to say, young lady? Go ahead.
Make sure to become a fan and a supporting partner and listen to our full episodes.
Click the links below and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Medium.com, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe.
Give American Memories Continued to yourself or to someone that you know. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our veterans for all that you've done for us. And truly, we thank you for your ongoing support.
Until next time, God bless.
God bless you.
And now, a preview from another episode of American Memories Continued. My teacher had 3 famous sayings that he would repeat every day to his faithful audience of students. He'd say, "Driving is not a right. It's a privilege. Think ahead, plan ahead. And you never know what the other guy is going to do or think. So you're going to have to drive for them also." I'm not sure that I'm spelling his name right, but the pronunciation is Mr. Derderian. Mr. Derderian didn't play games when it came to giving instructions. Driving was serious life or death business as far as he was concerned. His classes were always full.